Welcome to Affordable Foundations Legacy Impact Through Housing, the podcast that explores how housing shapes communities and creates lasting legacies. I'm your host, Cecilia Casio, and each week we'll dive deep into solutions, challenges, and opportunities in affordable, attainable, and workforce housing. From current housing models to innovative approaches reshaping the industry, we'll explore the policies, investment strategies, and community-driven initiatives that are making a real impact. Housing isn't just about buildings, it's about people, opportunity, and the future we're creating together. We believe everyone plays an important role in affordable housing, whether you're a real estate investor, developer, policymaker, property manager, or someone passionate about creating positive change. Affordable Foundations is your go-to source for insights and inspiration. So let's break barriers, redefine possibilities, and build a legacy together. Welcome to Affordable Foundations, Legacy Impact Through Housing, where we dive into the strategies of stories and systems where people make a difference. Today, I have Tommy who has joined us, and Tommy Jones is a dear friend of mine. He's also a partner. I am so blessed to have him on today. And Tommy, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and what you've been doing. But I want you to hit on the facilitator of dreams because I found that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to let him talk about that a little bit. So everyone, Tommy Jones.
Well, thank you, Cecilia, man. I am so pumped to be here. When you reached out and was like, "Hey, can you do this?" It was an emphatic yes. It wasn't even "Oh, let me check my schedule." It was like when and where, because I'm talking about something that is extremely near and dear to me, which is housing. I believe that housing is the foundation to any great long-term sustainable uh, financial future. I believe that the owning of properties is the great equalizer for people of color, black and brown, and people that middle class Americans. It gives us an opportunity to literally have a piece of the pie. So the way that the name Facilitator of Dreams came about was early in my real estate career. I've been a mortgage banker for a little over 27 years now. And so early on, uh, I was just so adamant, I still am, still passionate about helping people reach their goal of home ownership. And I remember I was at a closing and it was a tough one. Man, I had to revitalize that loan 4 or 5 times before it actually got to closing. And the wife looked at me at closing and she said, God used you to help facilitate our dream of home ownership. And we will always be thankful for that, Tommy. And I was like, facilitator of dreams. So that's when my marketing hat went off and I was like, I like that. And so, when I'm at networking events or whatever, people would be passing out their loan officer cards and they would say, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a facilitator of dreams." And I'd walk off and they'd be like, "Wait, what?" And they would, to a man or a woman, it never failed. They would follow me and tap me on the shoulder and like, "Okay, you can't leave me with that. What does that mean?" And then it gave me an audience, Cecilia, to share my story.
That's phenomenal. You talk about the facilitator of dreams and helping this family into their home ownership and real estate investing and how that builds generational wealth. Tell me a little bit about that, the beginning of that journey.
Man, well, really, that journey started a long time ago when I was a little boy. The reason I wanted to do it, I'll give you the 1,000-foot overview. We were, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and back then, for life insurance, the insurance guy would come to your home. You remember those days?
Oh,
And they
yeah.
would take the payment at your house. Yeah, they would come pick up your payment. And so my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was sick, and back then there was no hospice. Hospice was in the house, right? And so they had sent him home. The doctors had sent him home and said there's basically nothing else we can do. So this particular summer, hot summer day, my grandfather was in the house upstairs, and so I'll never forget his name was Bernie Williams. Mr. Williams had come by to pick up the life insurance payment, and my grandmother went in the house, and she had an old tattered uh black binder with a rubber band around it that had all the payments and receipts and all of that stuff. And you had more receipts than the premium. The premium wasn't even as thick as the receipts that were in there. But anyway, so she was asking him about the coverages that they had, and I mean I remember this vividly. I'm 54 years old, and I remember this like it was yesterday, Cecilia. I remember her saying, "That's it. That's all we get." And he said, "Yeah, you guys took out a couple of loans." And she said, "Oh, okay. Okay, okay, I understand. I understand." And so he took the payment, he put his hat on, stood up, gave his condolences about my grandfather's declining health. And I didn't know what an empath was back then, Cecilia, but I felt at the age of 7 or 8, I felt all of that. I felt the energy shift in the room. I felt my grandmother was really, really sad. And when he left, I just started crying. And I went to her and I said, "I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna, I'll fix it. I don't want you sad." And she was sitting there just kind of rocking back and forth. And she said, "God will provide." And I said, "No." I said, "No, but dear, I'll fix it. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it." And from that day, I was, my entrepreneurship was born because I never wanted to see anyone that I loved hurting.
Mhm.
Again, to this day, I don't know how much that policy was. I don't know what the balance was left after the loans that they had taken out. I just knew that someone that I loved, something about money had them hurting.
Mhm.
Something that they didn't understand about money had them hurting. And so my grandparents wind up several years later. I was actually in college when my grandfather transitioned, um, but they never became owners, and they were religious people. They were actually pastors, and it just kind of became my mantra that I wanted to help anybody in the area of finances that would listen. And that kind of became my thing. I went to school, got a business degree, and I for a couple of years I did investments at Fidelity Investments, mutual funds and stocks and bonds. And then I really found my lane, which was real estate. And what I loved about real estate that I didn't like so much about doing the being a securities exchange officer was that my they put me where you had to have a minimum amount of money to deal with me, right? To see me. You had to have, I think 65, 70, 100,000 or whatever it was back then to deal with me. And that didn't necessarily represent, Cecilia, the people that I came from. I wanted to help them as well, but I also wanted to help the people uh, where I came from, right? And
Right.
so what I loved about real estate is that real estate was a great equalizer. So, I mean, Cecilia, me and you, we partnered on a house that was in an urban area that sold for a little over 200 grand, but it helped a first time young man purchase a home. And at the same time, Cecilia, I'm working on $1 million property in Plano.
Right.
So that's what I love about real estate. right? So I can service everybody. And so um, that's why I kind of got into it. I stumbled into it. And man, I know I am right in the bullseye of my purpose and my mission here on earth. And I just love it. And I love platforms like this, spreading the word. I love what you're doing. I love being introduced to your community. So I'm ecstatic.
Well, we're happy to have you here. And I think our listeners will learn a lot. And you have provided a wealth of information to the people in our network, in our investment network, and even being involved in that. Flip in Dallas. That was pretty phenomenal. I really enjoyed being a part of that, and I think I'm going to be able. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to jump into the next one too. So like it is great. I think that really represents your reason for going into real estate investing and real estate as a whole. You talked about being a loan officer at one point as well. So how does that shape your approach to these deals and to working these deals? Because that's got to be, it gives you an upper hand for your clients as well.
I think it is. I think it allows me to help structure deals because I know the foundational I know the guidelines. When I started in the mortgage business, I got an interview with a company that prided themselves on doing no training. They only hired seasoned loan officers. That was their mantra. They did no training. And so the guy was so impressed with me. Now, these are his words. He was so impressed with me that he was going to break the rules. This was the vice president, and he hired me. And so when he hired me, again, there was no training, there was no videos back then, there was no Google. And so basically they gave me a cubicle, and I'll never forget this, Cecilia. I was there one Friday, like at 5:15 or something, and I'm sitting in my cubicle, and the office manager and the not the manager that hired me, but the actual CEO, they were still in the office, and she said, "Do you want me to order Tommy Jones's business cards and order his name placard for his office door?" And he goes, "No, he won't be here. He won't make it 30 days. You don't have to worry about that. Just give him the temporary cards. The temporary cards had all the company's information on it, and you would just write your name and your cell number on it." And he says, "No, he won't be here 30 days." Well, I wound up being at the company uh, 21 years, Cecilia. And so what happened was back then, I didn't have any business. I didn't know how to get business. So what I did was they gave me basically the underwriting handbook. And I would sit there every day. I'd come in, you're 100% commission. You eat what you kill. So nobody's monitoring you. And I would just read the guidelines, and I would memorize the guidelines. And back then, the whole Arlington, Mansfield area was exploding with growth to the point, Cecilia, do you know where 360 and Camp Wisdom is?
Yes,
Okay, it actually used to dead end right there.
I know.
You remember those days?
Yes, I used to drive to a or a street where the kids would go back there and see if your car would roll. It was a yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, I'm not lying, right?
Oh no.
So what would happen is you had all of these trailers where they were starting to build the houses that are there now.
Yeah.
And so I had one line, Cecilia. "Hi, my name is Tommy Jones with Home Loan Corporation. I would like to talk to any person that your in-house mortgage company has turned down in the last 30 days." And back then there wasn't, the compliance and stuff. So they would have, you remember how you get reams of paper and it's in
Yeah.
that box?
Yep.
They would have the traffic cards. And then if the people didn't qualify, they just throw them in the box.
Right.
So they would just give me those.
Wow.
So I would go back to my office and call them and say, "Hey, my name is Tommy Jones, and I heard that you were trying to build with ABC Builder, and unfortunately, you couldn't go through their in-house lender. Watch this? Are you open to me repulling your credit and doing a free analysis on your credit? And they would say, well, they told me my credit sucks or whatever, so I really don't want to ding it. I said, well, if they pulled it in the last 45 days, this is probably more than you care to know, there is no empirical impact to your credit negatively. So a lot of them would give me the opportunity. So I'd pull the credit and I would start looking for legal loopholes in the guidelines of why they could get a mortgage. And Cecilia, that's how I cut my teeth in the business. That's how, because I started with the people that people had given up on. And, back then it was taking 4 to 6 months to build a house. So I kind of self-taught myself how to do credit repair, right? And I'm like, hey, if you can do this and this and this, your scores can be where they need to be to buy a house. So, and one of the families I did that too was the young lady that gave me the nickname Facilitator of Dreams. So that's how it all started 27 years ago.
That's phenomenal. That takes you to today, right? Where
Yeah.
you are working on different projects and the fix and flips. I think our audience, are multifamily people, and I know that many of those have said to me, I want to start working on some fix and flips. So tell us what you find are the biggest challenges in fix and flip projects.
Um, I would say keeping the contractors on task and on time. It's like herding cats. It's like I am very the way that I pay my contractors is very fair, but because I do material suppression, like we buy in bulk, right? We
Mhm.
use the same color scheme, we use the same granite, we use the same type of cabinets across a multitude of flips, that they don't get the normal injection of capital up front. It's always in arrears because I'm supplying all the materials.
Right.
So what do you need money for if the materials are being drop shipped to the location? So the only thing you're providing, which is still an integral part, is the labor, but I'm going to pay you after the work has started, not before.
Right.
And so that's probably the most challenging part, I would say.
No, that's interesting because in the industry, um, we find that many of our team members are maintenance team members, and they have these skill sets to work on these different trades in that are conducted by contractors and fix and flips, but they have a hard time getting financing for whatever the reason. Many of them already have a home. They don't know how to do the financing for a investment home, or even if they're putting in the work, they don't understand that there's the money that has to go up front. They don't have the ability to get or understand how to get the financing for that rehab. So do you have any quick tip strategies on what they can look for other than calling Tommy, you know?
What I would tell them to do, so the greater leverage position that you have in the asset, the property, the more attractive it becomes to lenders. Okay. So I typically, my acquisition strategy is usually around 50% of what the ARV is going to be. And
Okay.
because of that, you have several lenders that do short-term financing, anywhere from 6 to 12 months, that are more than happy to come alongside of you and lend on those. So it really depends on the project, not so much the person. So I always say, when you buy them right, finding the money is never a problem. It's never a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share a risk or a situation or an area of opportunity that nearly derailed the flip and how you overcame it?
Yeah. So I bought this property. Well, I did a sub two. I did a subject to, which is a form of creative financing, uh, a little over 18 months ago in Aubrey, Texas, which is a beautiful area. It's about 50 minutes from Arlington, which is my home base. And it was a veteran that was losing his home. He was behind uh, 6 payments. The house was going into foreclosure. So the house was worth 450. The balance on the house was 277. He was trying to sell it for 300. Well, he had like a 4.5% interest rate, which is a great rate then. And it's even a better one now. And he had because he was a veteran, he had no private mortgage insurance. So the total payment on the house, Cecilia, was $1,600. And there was nothing wrong with the house. It was a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, beautiful home. However, it had solar panels.
Yes.
Yeah. And so his balance on the solar panels was $33,000. So here was the opportunity. So the opportunity was for me to buy the home, but not buy it through traditional financing. I came in and said, hey, I will buy the home subject to your loan staying in place. You allowing me to pay cash for the delta between the 277 and the 300, which is 23,000. And I basically, we still go to a title company and we close on the loan. And there's a way that I teach how to close on the loan legally so that the lender does not call the loan due.
Right.
Okay. So now out of that 23 grand, we paid the 6 payments in arrears. So I think he netted like 9 grand or something. So I'm basically taking over a $1,600 payment. I turned around and put like 20 grand in it. And so I'm all in at 320 and I'm worth 445. So I'm sitting pretty, I'm feeling great. What I underestimated was, and what I didn't understand at the time, is that when I read through the paperwork, the company said that it was assumable, that the loan was assumable, right? What they didn't say, or what I didn't ask, was what was the credit requirements. Because I sold the house. I got 3 contracts on the house, Cecilia. They qualified for a mortgage, but they didn't qualify for the solar panels because they wanted you to have a 700 credit score for the solar panels. And I wound up holding that house for 18 months
Wow.
because I couldn't get a buyer that could qualify for the solar panels and for a mortgage. And so, but again, when you buy them right, you see what I'm saying? And because thank God that wasn't a hard money loan, it was only $1,600 a month, which is still, I'm not sneezing at that, but 1,600 versus 3,800 is a big difference, right?
Right.
And so that was one that was, whew.
Yeah. Well, and I like how you stated what I didn't ask. So you didn't blame the other person. And it's important for people to understand this. When you're new to this, you don't know what you don't know. And that's
Correct,
why it's important to find mentorships and find
correct.
coaches and really pay a little bit of money to save yourself a lot of money.
That's right.
Because even somebody like you who's experienced at doing this, didn't ask those detailed questions
Correct.
that could have saved you in the end a little more, right? I mean, you still came out okay, but
Correct.
it's important for those mentorships to be considered when you're getting into flipping houses.
That's
It's
right. Well,
definitely
when you're getting into any type of real estate, you want to really do your due diligence because there's so much stuff out here on social media. There's so much stuff, and they make it look easy. And I
Yeah.
really try to be as transparent as possible. And I tell my students, I tell my community, you have to have a stomach for this.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I went to one of my assets and I took some pictures where they had broke in and they had stole the tile, the grout, they stole the spacers for the tile. I'm like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do with that? Right? But I'm like, hey, you grin, you bear it, you go back, you buy the stuff, you put it in, you tell your guys, hey, don't leave anything. Um, and this isn't just in bad areas. This is from I've had houses broken in from Flower Mound to South Dallas and everything in
Right.
between.
Yeah.
So it's there's opportunities everywhere. There's opportunities, and they're going to take advantage when they can.
Well, and again, it's about planning accordingly, being strategic, understanding the timelines, and you just kind of work around those plans.
Yes,
Tommy and I met at a real estate investing mastermind. So, a multifamily, we were both interested in getting a multifamily. For those of you that know me, know that that's what I've been doing for the past 30, we're just going to say 30 years.
you started when
And
you were 5. You
I
started
started
when
when
you
I
were
was 5.
5.
I started when I was 5. That's what I say. I think I've said 10, but 5 is even better at this point. So, and you've kind of, not kind of, we're actually partners on a couple of deals. So, tell us a little bit about what prompted you to make that launch into multifamily.
That's a
And
great question.
yeah,
That's a great question. So for me, I've been a real estate investor for 17 years, and and I was in the whole single family arena, but I always longed to get into the multifamily, and I always felt that the barriers of entry were so high that it was something that I couldn't do. And one day I said, enough is enough about thinking about it. And so I joined this organization, this mentorship, and it's the most money that I've ever paid for mentorship, but I've met the greatest people. When I look at the flow chart of the people that are in my life now, from me making the decision to create even a bigger legacy for my 2 kids, Miles and Madison, it's the best investment that I ever made in me. I met you, I met Brooke, I met Julie, I met Sergio, oh my God. I mean, there are people that I've met that will be in my life for the rest of my life, from this organization, and then the offshoots of the organization. And let me just say this about mentorship. Mentorship is more about you than it is the coach.
yeah,
Period. End of story. The mentorship is more about you than it is the coach. It is what you do with it.
absolutely.
How do you leverage it? How do you grow? How do you take the blueprint that they give? Because there is a proof of concept. It's already been proven. Now the question is, can you go execute on the blueprint you've been given? And man, I went from not knowing anything about it to currently owning, I think it's about 1,200 doors through syndication, and my life is better. My financial position is better, but more importantly, Cecilia, for people like you and other people, Julie and Brooke and other people like that I've met, my soul is better. My soul is
Oh,
richer from knowing you guys. So that was a bonus. That part was a bonus.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, I feel the same way, and I say this because many of those in this industry that I'm in, that we buy multifamily in, and I think you and I have talked about this, Tommy, how the team members that work out on the sites, they have their 401ks, they have their savings. And I really wanted to do this episode because I feel that it's important for them to understand that there are ways for them to get into real estate investing. And one, it's kind of a twofold. One is provide generational wealth for them and their families, but also opportunities for those that they either sell the houses to or rent the houses to, because having a home, like you said at the very beginning, that is a foundation of everyone's, and I wholeheartedly believe this, security, feeling that sense of security. The children that get up in the morning to go to school, the fact that they have a place to sleep in. I don't care if it is a Section 8, paid home, or a non-Section 8 paid home. It is a child that gets to put their head on a pillow at night and wake up in the morning with a roof over their head. I'm not saying it makes life perfect, but that is the first step to giving them that hope of what is out there, and an experience to improve their lives. When they lack that sense of security, there's things that happen that I believe are beyond their control. And so I feel very passionate about affordable foundations, which is the name of the podcast, right? Because affordable, attainable, it is about being able to provide people a home. And you help others learn how to do that through your mentorship. And I know you haven't really mentioned it. I'm going to do that for you right now. So, Wealth Through Real Estate is a mentorship program. It's an education program that you can look up, and Tommy will give you the link at the end of our podcast. But I've gone to a number of your events, and I watch you teach, and I watch your students, and the ability for a first time home buyer to buy a home from somebody who's flipping a home, the ability for that first time investor that is flipping their first home. I was all excited about the one that we just did. And I've sold, homes. Not me personally have sold them. I'm not a realtor, but, I've been involved in selling off my investment homes for the past probably 20 years. I just haven't done a fix and flip in 15, 15 years. So, it was really exciting. And I just go back and I think about the managers that have worked on my teams and have said, you know what, I want to learn how to do this. And I'm like, well, go do it. Just, go. I'd give them some tidbits based on what I knew, but I've learned so much from what you have set out in these events and what I've learned just from listening to you. So one is thank you for that. Two is your mentorship. Make sure we announce it at the end. But three, you provide not just your students the ability to create their own wealth, but you provide others the opportunity to buy affordable homes. The one that you mentioned in Dallas at 200 and, I think it was 220,000. To me, that is affordable these days.
Yeah.
So, what is your drive behind all that? I heard your story in the beginning, but what are you seeing today as your main driver?
So my driver is that I just want people to know that as hard as they work for their money, I want to put them in a position that their money can return the favor back to them and work as hard for them, right? I several years ago, there was a young lady, a young Hispanic lady. She was a single mom. I'll never forget this story. She had 4 kids. She bought a house in Lancaster, Texas for $135,000. She met the love of her life. He had 2 kids. They wanted to do life together. They were going to be a blended family. They needed a bigger home. She called me 18 months later, Cecilia, and said, "Hey, I met this guy named Eric. We're going to get married. I need you to help us sell this home." So I hooked her up with one of my realtors. We sold that home. And in 18 months, that house appreciated $41,000. That's what she got in her pocket.
Yeah.
41,000. Her annual salary, Cecilia, at the time before child support was 45,000.
Yeah.
They were able, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I need to call and check on them. They were able to take that money, get married, pay off her car, pay off her student loans, and go into their marriage and still have a little bit left for a down payment. Cecilia, that's what, and it was all tax free.
Right.
So basically, she got paid $41,000 tax free to babysit.
Yeah.
And that's what real estate does. It's the great equalizer.
It
And,
is.
and that's what it does for so many people. And so for me to have the ability and the skill set to help people do that, and we help in at Wealth Through Real Estate, we help two sets of people. We help people, Cecilia, where life is showed up in a way that they feel like they want to sit down. And we give them the tools not to have to sit down. And we have a dignified conversation with them. And if something has become so overwhelming that they can no longer handle it, we give them an exit strategy that creates a win-win for them as well as us. Then we take that asset and we do forced appreciation. We go in, we make improvements to it, and then we find a family and say, hey, you're not gonna have to worry about anything major for several years. The HVAC, the foundation, the roof, all of that, the plumbing, the electrical, all of the stuff, the big ticket items have been taken care of. And oh, by the way, we made it cute too. So they're able to move in and basically vacuum and mow the yard. And for several years, that's all they really have to worry about. So that allows them to, number one, save money because they're not in a money pit. And number two, the appreciation of the neighborhood and of the area and the forced savings that you're doing as you are paying down the mortgage every month creates that equity gap.
Right.
So that's how we do it, man. That's kind of the 100-foot overview, but and I love it. I love it. I love it. And I really believe I'm going to do this all of my days, all of my remaining days.
Well, I'm sure you will, and you're going to continue doing great at it because your heart is always in the right place. And that's the other piece that I appreciate about what you do. So I've seen you work out there with not just your clients, but your vendors, which are your clients as well, right? Like you help them create their income sources, and I think that's a great thing.
Can I touch on that real quick?
Yes.
So I was talking to my accountant several months ago. Cecilia, in the last 18, almost 24 months, between the real estate agents, the local small minority vendors that we use, we've paid out almost $1.4 million.
Wow. Wow.
So not only have we been handing out keys, we've been impacting the lives of small painters, electricians, cleaning services, real estate agents, landscapers, all of these people. We've been able to help impact their families. We've been able to send what we've been able to help with us, helping these small businesses. 37 kids are either in college or out of college based on some of the monies that Wealth Through Real Estate has paid their mom or dad.
That's awesome.
Over 68 students are in high school or are doing extracurricular activities and sports and stuff that we help fund some of that through us hiring their mom and dad, man. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, no, because that's what you do.
What I'm saying, when you really think about it like that.
Wait, yes, but you I think because you're in it, you don't see
I
the
don't see it.
impact.
I
When
don't see
I've
it.
had conversations, I've said, "Look, I've seen the impact he's making on like these vendors,
Yeah.
and I see how vendors can get treated sometimes, and I've seen you kind of do the opposite, and I can appreciate that." And so, yes, it is crazy to think about it if you don't really realize the impact you're making. But I think from my perspective, I see it. I've seen what you've done, and that's what I've mentioned to others when I have talked about your program. So
Yeah.
yes, um, thank you for making such an impact on people because again, that impacts their home.
Yeah.
It impacts what they do with their
And so
family.
watch this. Watch this. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. And I'm not gonna cry. I don't even know why you're making me have an Oprah moment right now. Do you know that two of my vendors, because of what they've learned from working with me that I didn't even know they were watching, Cecilia, two of them came to me and said, "Will you show us how to get a loan?" And I said, "Yeah." And so I helped them get a hard money loan, and they bought a house. They fixed up the house, and then we did an I-10 loan on it, a permanent financing. They're now homeowners.
Yeah.
They're now homeowners, Cecilia, and it's and one of the guys, his wife, she would always come by on Friday. Friday's payday. She'd always come by on Friday and pick up his check for him and go do whatever. And she's never said a word to me. She just always would wave because that a lot of times the language is a barrier,
Right.
and
Right.
and they're intimidated by it. But I don't let them be intimidated by it.
Right.
And so she got out the car and she hugged me and she was just saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a home now." She said, she said, Guillermo, she said, "When he gets through working for you, he can come paint my house." Oh, Cecilia, that that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah. It's creating those homes for people.
She said, "My husband has painted big and small houses, and I would always wonder when would our time come."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Well, it's here now.
Yeah.
It's
That's
here now."
amazing.
So yeah, yeah.
Well, I know these are the stories that people need to hear and the impact that is made. Again, this is typically a multifamily podcast, but I knew that I had to bring you on because of the impact that you make, and not just from our partnership in multifamily, but what I've seen you do in the single family space and seen what you've created and able to help those that may need help. These listeners that are on here, you'll be able to reach out to Tommy should you uh, need mentorship or anything. He'll give you his link here at the end.
Well,
Um,
and I'll say this: I love multifamily. Multifamily is I look at multifamily like the big 18-wheeler, that's trying to turn a curve. If you ever watch an 18-wheeler turn a curve, how does it do it? Slow and steady,
yep.
right? Well, the fix and flip world is a cute little sports car, right? That's able to zoom, zoom, zoom. So I tell people all the time, you can get you can get rich in fix and flip, but if you want to be wealthy, you better be doing multifamily. It's a long-term play. What I like about it from a duality standpoint is fix and flip allows you to get the instant cash or the ready cash to invest in the 3, the 5, and the 7-year projects.
Yep.
Because there's only so many times you can go to your savings or your 401k and then you're going to be tapped out and then other opportunities are going to come and you're going to be like, "Oh, I wish I had the liquidity to do that." Well, fix and flip world provides that. It
Yeah.
allows you to do that. It allows you to do both.
Yep. And that's a great thing about it. That's what I enjoy is that, you know, return that happens a lot sooner than the,
That's
three,
right.
5, 7 year. So,
That's right.
so we're almost near the end here, Tommy. Tell me, what's the single best piece of advice you could give new investors?
The best day to get in real estate was yesterday. The next best day is today.
I
Start
love it.
now. No,
Yeah.
seriously. Start now.
Yeah.
Get in, get in community. Join a lot of the. See, it's so much easier now to break into this thing.
Mhm.
You can from the comfort of your couch, you can join some online organizations that are free. You need to go to your local meetups. You need to meet the real players in the area, and then you need to jump in.
That's right.
You need to
That's
jump
right.
in.
Yep. How can listeners connect with you to learn more about what
Man,
you
I
do?
would love to. They can reach me on Instagram at Talk to Tommy, or they can join me on Facebook at Wealth Through Real Estate Texas. I would love to talk to them. I would love for them to be a part. Next Saturday, June 12th, we're going to do we'll do a quarterly meetup at what's called a rehab lab. So it's a house that either me or one of my students have purchased. We've rehabbed it. We pull the curtain back. We share the secrets, right? We don't hide anything. The other thing I love about what we do, everything that I say that I did can be documented by third party sources, right? And so you'll see this particular house that we're meeting at in Dallas. The acquisition price was 165. We put 100 in it, and we're going to market at 440. I mean,
Wow.
do the math.
Yeah, that's pretty
Do
phenomenal. That's pretty phenomenal there. my
yeah,
my numbers brain started going. I'm like, well,
exactly. Exactly. So, so we're able to come out, and you're able to stand in the proof in the concept of what I teach. So we're not meeting at a hotel. I'm not standing in front of a green screen and there's some fictitious house behind me. We are standing in what I purchased 4 months ago.
awesome. That is June 12th, right?
No,
I mean,
June 21st.
June
21st.
21st. The
Yeah.
numbers reverse there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I will make sure to share that as well on my
Yes,
Instagram.
yes. I will
Yeah.
send you the link so you can put it on your page, and I hope you can come out. I mean, you've been out before. I really want you to see this one.
Okay. All right. I will put it on my calendar.
Cecilia, it went from a 2 bedroom to a 4 bedroom. It went from a 2 bedroom, 2 bath to a 4 bedroom, 3 bath. And we didn't extend. We just took the same square footage and repurposed it. That's all
Wow.
we did. Yep.
That's pretty amazing when you can do
Yep.
things like that, and when you have the contacts to be able to
Correct.
do that work, because that's another step in this.
Yes.
So, well, Tommy, thank you so much for sharing your journey today. Your story is one that just reminds us that with vision, grit, and the right support, the right mentorship, you can truly reach those goals. And to my listeners, if you would like to connect with Tommy, explore his wealth through real estate programs. It is, I believe, www.wealththroughrealestate.us.
Yes. Yes.
That is where you can reach him, or on Instagram. And remember that affordable housing isn't just about buildings. It's about people, opportunities that we spoke of today at Great Lanes, and building a legacy for future generations. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Tommy, for being my guest.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Affordable Foundations, Legacy Impact Through Housing. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and gave you a fresh perspective on the role we all play in creating sustainable, thriving communities. Affordable housing isn't just about buildings. It's about people, opportunity, and the legacies we leave behind. Every step we take to improve access, challenge stigmas, and drive solutions brings us closer to a future where everyone has a place to call home. Make sure to subscribe to Affordable Foundations on your favorite podcast platform and share this episode with others who are just as passionate about making a difference. Follow us on social media for more insights, updates, and stories from the field. And before we go, a special shout out to the incredible teams working on the front lines of our multifamily properties. The property managers, maintenance teams, leasing staff, and all those who make housing possible every day. Your work is the foundation of stronger communities, and we see you. We appreciate you, and we thank you. Until next time, let's keep building a legacy that lasts.